And a felony stop, guys, is when you're chasing after some guys or whatever it may be, and how you do a felony stop is the police vehicle sit behind the target vehicle, and then they order them out of the vehicle, and they're sitting behind their vehicle with the guns drawn from a tactical position. So if there's anything that happens, they can go ahead and engage them, and they got cover. But that's what a felony stop is. You have anything?
Do you have a little speaker to yell at them?
They probably had something. Yeah, they probably like the little loudspeaker, like, "Hey, pull over, FBI, whatever." Yeah. Nostalgia right now.
Grogan pulled alongside the suspect's car and ordered them to stop. The suspects ignored the order, and Grogan pulled ahead of them, blocking their escape. Hanlon and Morales moved up, boxing them in.
So they're trying to pin him and box him in, and these guys are still not stopping.
The sight made an indelible impression on veteran agent John Hanlon.
And I'll never forget the man's face. I mean, I could pick him out today. I mean, he looked like your basic Western bad man. He looked very, very determined.
It seemed the suspects were as desperate to prevail as the agents who pursued them. Two heavily armed fugitives had ignored FBI orders to stop their vehicle. Special agents now tried to force them to comply.
And they were very patient, man. If you're chasing someone and you could see that they got firearms in their hands and they're not willing to like pull over, you could potentially justify shooting at them at that point.
Ooh.
You know, you could, is it the best course of action? Obviously, it's a rapidly evolving event and you never really know. But if they have guns, you're telling them to stop and they're not stopping and they have the guns in their hand. I mean, it just takes a second for them to point it at you and shoot.
Yeah.
So you could articulate shooting them right then and there. So these agents were very patient, which we'll see what that leads to here in a second.
The last to catch up to the group was Agent Richard Manauzi. As he pulled behind the suspect's car, he saw one of the gunmen take aim at Morales and Hanlon. Manauzi rammed the fugitive's car from behind.
See, at that point, you can shoot him, but hey, he rammed them because that was obviously to fuck with their aim, which was a very smart move.
They swung into a U-turn, and then Manauzi was able to hit him again and knocked him over into this parking area up against some cars over there.
The passenger opened fire with a .14 assault rifle. Outgunned, Agent Manauzi crawled to cover. Agent McNeil arrived seconds later, firing at point-blank range. They were surrounded by FBI. Their vehicle could not move, but they had superior firepower.
So, as you guys can see, he's using an assault rifle, while meanwhile, these guys are using revolvers.
Yeah.
Okay? Not even close,
Nope.
guys. Not even close.
And they refused to surrender.
Revolvers are fantastic backup guns, but they are terrible primary weapons, man. You carry a revolver maybe as a backup on your ankle or whatever, but you don't want that to be your primary service weapon, man.
Yeah, you waste so much time replacing the magazine.
Yeah,
especially
exactly.
With a revolver.
Yeah, with the but reloading, even with a speed loader ain't worth it. And then on top of that, you only hold 6 rounds. It's just, revolvers, people love them because they don't jam. They're reliable, like from a non-jamming standpoint, but it's not enough ammunition. They're slow. And
it's not even a magazine, right?
You have to pop that bad boy out. Exactly. Pop out the shells. And then, man, doesn't even come close.
The driver fired a shotgun blast at Grogan. McNeil hit the driver on the neck.
So he gets hit.
But the semi-automatic kept pumping out the rounds until one finally caught McNeil in the hand.
Shit.
Morales and Hanlon advanced to cover him. Hanlon's .38 held 5 rounds. The Mini 14 had 30 rounds in each clip. And one of them shot down Agent Morales.
This shootout, guys, was instrumental in forcing law enforcement to switch over from revolvers to semi-automatic pistols that had more stopping power. You know, law enforcement agencies all across the country changed their weapon protocols after this shootout. You know, because the FBI just could not compete with two gunmen.
It was two guys. It's two guys. They were outnumbered, and they still are killing
and they're still
FBIs.
putting up a crazy fight. You know.
It was all one continuous recollection. It was like 1 second I'm looking at Gordon McNeil's back, trying to maneuver to his left, and the next second is blue sky. And I looked at my left arm, and my left arm was completely shattered. It was like roadkill.
Yeah, because it was a shotgun.
His partner was down, but the shooter kept on firing. But when he tried to escape out the window, Jerry Dove hit him in the chest with his 9mm.
Finally.
Yeah, finally.
But to Dove's horror, the man shot McNeil in the neck.
Oh shit.
Aw, damn.
I couldn't move my upper body, I couldn't move my arm, and I couldn't move my legs. So I assumed that I was totally paralyzed at that particular point. I couldn't move.
Yeah, your neck controls a lot of nerves, so yeah, I could imagine.
2 more FBI agents arrived and joined the gunfight. By now, the shooter had been hit 4 times, but he continued to advance and fire.
He just made up his mind that he was going down, he was going out, and he was going to take as many of us with him as he possibly could.
The agents knew they were outgunned, firing 6 shooters against the suspect's 30-round semi-automatic assault rifle. Dove and Grogan were forced to retreat behind their car to reload. Hanlon, too, reloaded.
And obviously, reloading, revolvers is extremely cumbersome and slow. So now their weapons are down. He's progressing towards them. You know, from a tactical standpoint, this is terrible.
But the shooter kept on coming.
One went right through my knuckles on my right hand and through the knuckle in my thumb. A bunch of lead and whatever went into the back of my arm, and I remember my gun flying. I said, "Ben, I've been hit."
As Hanlon tried to retreat under the bunk,
Holy shit.
the gunman shot him in the groin.
In the groin?
The blood
Right in the nuts.
geysered from my groin to my knee. I mean, the blood just came out like a balloon breaking.
I'm surprised he was even still alive after that. A lot of blood is down there, guys. You could bleed out easily.
Grogan was hit. And then Dove. Before they could reload their weapons.
Terrible, man. They had better firepower. They could have stood up and fought these guys back, man.
Yeah.
I remember Ben saying, "Oh my God," and he fell at my feet. And at some point along in here, I heard the breath go out of him. He went, "Ah."
The subject made his way to Agent Dove's car. With his left arm nearly blown off, Agent Morales managed to pull himself up.
That's the fight to live right there.
The shooter was trying to flee, and Morales had to stop him. Mortally wounded, the second suspect somehow dragged himself out of his car and joined his partner. If the car started, Morales knew they could only go in reverse, back over the fallen agents.
Eventually, I just got angry because I knew internally that I was dying, and my one last thought was, hey, if I'm going to die, I'm going to take these guys with me. I'm going to make sure that they're dead.
So now he has a sidearm.
With his shotgun empty, Morales changed to his revolver and staggered forward, firing at the subjects. Morales' shots lodged in the men's spines, killing them both. It was a violent end to the lives of two violent men. Just a few minutes after it began, the bloodiest firefight in FBI history ended in tragedy. 2 agents were dead and 5 wounded. 2 suspects still unidentified had also been killed.
So mind you guys, they don't even know who these guys are. They still had not identified who these guys were, and you guys are going to see here in a second why they were able to fight the way they did.
Agent Jerry Dove lay dead. At the age of 30, he'd earned a law degree and fulfilled his boyhood dream of joining the FBI. He wanted to make a difference and had given his life trying.
And that's why anyone really joins law enforcement, man. Guys, it's not the highest paying career, you know, especially there's a lot of people that are like lawyers that end up going into law enforcement, especially at the federal level. I mean, it's a certain sense of satisfaction, guys, that you can't get from any other job. You know, me telling you this from a former investigator myself. Like, I don't go a day without thinking about what I used to do. It was a fun job, even though it's pennies compared to what I make now, right? I make like what I used to make a year, like a month now with the feds. It doesn't change the fact that it was a fantastic job. It taught me a lot of character development, made me the man I am today. And you don't take that oath and wear the badge and put on a gun and, you know, go into danger, you know, for the money. You do it for other reasons. And, you know, even to this day, man, it was a great job. It was a lot of fun. And a lot of people, you know, especially at the FBI, HSI, DEA, when people become special agents, it's a level of prestige, it's a level of accomplishment, and doing these big cases, doing these types of investigations, it's more rewarding than any other career path, man, because every day is different. You know, it's not monotonous like a lot of other careers. So, yeah, it's indescribable why people get on the job, but I definitely understand.
His partner, Ben Grogan, had also perished in the firefight.
So 2 agents down.
He had been just 1 year away from retirement.
Damn.
When his wife could finally have stopped worrying about her husband's dangerous career.
And let me tell you something. Most agents that are 1 year away from retiring, they would never go out and do surveillance on something like that or get involved in something like that. Like most agents that are a year away from retiring, guys, trust me, I had a bunch of retired on duty guys that I worked with. Like they don't do shit. They're useless. You can never get them out the office. You can never get them to help you out with surveillance. The fact that this guy not only predicted the Monte Carlo, identified the vehicle, and called it, was a SWAT supervisor, etc. I already know that this is one of those guys that was a hard charger, regardless of his age or how close he was to retirement, man. So I could tell just from the way he was behaving that this guy was a fucking go-getter. You know, to be with the agency that long, to be a SWAT commander, all that other stuff. They don't put you in positions like that when you're a useless agent. So, you know, obviously rest in peace to him and his family. This is actually footage from the scene.
Arrived at the site. Metro-Dade County Homicide Bureau Sergeant David Rivers was also there. Rivers had the Herculean task of reconstructing 5 minutes of living terror. That would take weeks.
Well, we have to find out what happened. And you do that in various ways. You obviously speak to the agents that were involved, and they can tell you what each one of them did individually. And then part of that is to take those different statements as to what they did individually and match it up with the physical evidence.
And you guys are probably wondering, why is the state involved in this situation? Weren't the feds involved in the shooting? Well, the reason why, guys, is because murder, homicide, 9 out of 10 times is a state crime. So anytime you get involved in a shootout or any type of shooting as a federal agent, the state is going to come in and do an investigation independently of the feds. And typically the feds are going to do their investigation as well, the internal affairs. So even though this was a clear, good shoot here, a good use of force, they still have to come in and investigate it, recreate the shooting, and make sure that the agents were justified in their use of force, which they obviously were. But it's just protocol that they have to do this. So that's why the state was there reconstructing the shooting.
The wounds on the body, the bullet holes in the cars, where the guns are located, where the cars are located, and to reconstruct it to make sure everything's exactly interpreted properly.
Technicians recovered 143 bullets fired from the fugitives' weapons. Questions that had plagued agents for so long were finally being answered. The Ruger Mini 14 rifle used to kill agents Grogan and Dove would match the 223 bullets found at some of the armored car and bank robbery scenes.
Bam. So that's the weapon that they used on all those other robberies. Like I told you guys before, the rounds fired from that gun give a distinct print that ties it directly to that weapon.
In fact, the FBI crime lab could now forensically link the killers with several of the earlier heists. And from fingerprints, the agents soon identified the subjects as 32-year-old Michael Lee Platt and 34-year-old William Russell Maddox. But one question remained. What kind of men had wreaked this destruction, and why? Agents could not have been more surprised by what they learned from the killer's friends and neighbors.
This is crazy.
Were they ex-cops?
We'll see in a second. What's your guess? What do you think they were?
Ex-cops or military men or somebody with some sort of professional shooting training.
Okay.
Instead of outlaws living
Let's
on
see.
the edge, prepared for the ultimate confrontation, Platt and Maddox were known as quiet family men.
What?
Photos showed their families relaxing together. Platt had a wife and 3 children.
Oh, God.
Maddox was a single dad. They were partners in a landscaping business.
What?
But further investigation gave up the lie of their double life.
Oh, here we go.
Inside a shed, agents found guns and ammunition, including the .22 Maddox and Platt had stolen from Jose Collazo when they tried to kill him in the Everglades.
Bam.
Agents would also uncover evidence of a bizarre murder pact in which the men may have killed each other's previous wives.
What?
Holy what?
I feel like this needs to be a whole nother episode.
Yeah, like, yo, kill my wife, man. Yo, okay, bro, you kill my wife, I'll
Now
kill
we're
yours.
even. We're even.
Yeah, that's like some crazy shit right there. Like, yo, just kill my wife. Okay, I'll kill yours, you kill mine.
Partners.
Yeah. Oh, man. These guys are wild.
No one had been charged in the 2 cases, but now they would be reopened.
So they were able to identify the gun that they stole from Collazo in the Everglades, identify 2 other murders, and these guys were just landscapers that had families.
Within
Crazy.
days, agents would confirm that Maddox and Platt had killed 25-year-old Emilio Brielle in the Everglades.
And that was the first vehicle that they had went missing, guys, that they were able to identify, that Ford F-150, if I'm not mistaken.
A hiker found Brielle's skeletal remains in the Everglades,
Oh, shit.
not
Wow.
far from where Collazo had been assaulted. Then another tragic footnote surfaced. Special Agent Steve Warner received a package from the Florida Department of Motor Vehicles. In it was a copy of William Russell Maddox's driver's license. He was the owner of one of the white Ford F-150 pickup trucks agents had located a few weeks before. But there had been a delay in sending the licenses.
If they had arrived April 11th or prior to that, Collazo would have been able to positively identify Maddox and we probably would have been able to arrest Maddox and also Platt, and 2 FBI agents wouldn't have been killed. But that's
Holy
Wow.
shit.
not the way the luck worked out in this.
Bro, that is crazy. That is 1980s technology for you. They couldn't get the DMV records in time. If they had them in time, they would have been able to show that witness where these are the guys that robbed you, who identified them. Then they would have been able to set up surveillance appropriately and not had, kind of randomly found them and got into a shootout with them after chasing them. Man. And this is why, guys, the feds typically don't get in shootouts and why they don't get involved in violent altercations like this. And it's because a lot of the times because feds do their homework and they're able to identify the people before. In this case, it was just a chance situation where they ran into them on Monte Carlo. They were there. They followed them, and they didn't even know who the individuals were before they got in the shootout with them. So, yeah, I mean, nowadays, right, me speaking as agent, like you can get their DMV stuff literally within seconds. You just search it. I mean, I had access to the Florida database. I'd be able to get people's driver's license right away when I was an agent myself. But in the 80s, it didn't work that way, guys. So wild. If they had just gotten it on time, what would have happened?